I'm Reverend Joe Rutledge, and welcome to Healing Life Fellowship Church. Today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about second chances. Second chances. Sometimes we think of forgiveness, but you can't have a second chance even without forgiveness. And how many of you have had a second chance that has given you an opportunity you will remember for your life? Maybe it's made your life. Second chances can be life-changing, whether it's a second chance you gave yourself or something somebody gave to you. However, for some who don't get that second chance, think about the decision that could have derailed their life for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, their entire lifetime. That's why I felt it was important to talk about second chances, and things don't happen by coincidence. I happened to come across a small snippet, and it made me think about this. We're all learning through our own mistakes. We're learning through others' mistakes. It's just part of this human experience we have. And when we're in the moment, we feel it. We feel that nagging feeling or that nagging thought of, what do I do? This doesn't feel right to me. Or you feel like you need to say something, but you don't. You know, that's your inner heart telling you, take some action. Should you open your heart, or should you close it? Should you open your mind, provide that second chance, communicate, and maybe even give the guidance to the person who needs that? As a supervisor, a parent, a friend, you may be put in that situation where you have that chance to give somebody the second chance they need to help them learn. We all come from different families. We all come from different economic grounds. And so what we fail to realize, even though we go to similar schools, is that when you're at home, you're under different rules. You're under different life experiences. You're under different economical circumstances. You're not all equal. And I got to thinking about that, because we're not all equal under the same circumstances. But, you know, as you go through grammar school, as you go through high school, and then into college, those opportunities build our reality. And so I came across this video clip by Nick Saban. If you don't know who Nick is, he was coaching for Alabama, just retired. Really a legendary coach. And he works with a lot of young athletes. And these athletes come from different backgrounds, just like I'm talking to you about today. And, you know, one of his athletes made a mistake. And you can imagine, you know, as if you're the coach and you're responsible and your young guy makes a mistake, people are asking you, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? It's a chance for him to define himself and that individual. Because when we're young, we can make inexperienced or dumb mistakes. And so what are we going to do about those? You know, Nick was quick when things happen to point out. Most people ask him about when a mistake happens, they're pushing and saying, let's blame him. What are we going to do about it? But he always points out that there's not enough people out there saying, hey, what are we going to do about this to give him a second chance? What are we going to do to help that person? So in one circumstance, Nick Saban said, where do you want, this college person made a mistake, and he said, well, where do you want them to be? Really, where do you want them to be? And he's telling this to the press. Do you want them to be on the street? Or do you want them to make a difference later on in life? Do you want them graduating? Do you want the benefit of what they will bring to others because they are a graduate? Second chances. He believes in second chances. You know, and when he went through this, what I learned was he was speaking about Mushin Muhammad. And that was when he was at Michigan State. Maybe you've heard of him. He was an All-American professional football player, played for the Carolina Panthers, and he played for the Bears. What you may not know is he later became a leader of a principal of his company. He started a nonprofit for kids. He had 7 children, one of which is going to Princeton. And he made something of himself. You know, he started M2 Children's Foundation. So who should have been the judge? I think Nick was right when he said, "What do you want me to do?" He gave him a second chance. Yes, there was some punishments. Yes, there were things for that young individual to think about, and he was not able to play for a while, but he got that person back on track. Why? Second chances. And if you think about Newsom's accomplishments on his own 7 children with that kind of guidance, what are his 7 kids' legacy going to be, and how's that going to grow and change? I think he's going to have a very positive impact in this world. So young people, please, think about the decisions you make. Think about how you treat your fellow brothers and sisters. Please don't make big decisions while you're under the influence of alcohol or any other substance. And don't make any big decisions when you're so emotional that you might not be clear. Because those decisions, the words you say, they can be forgiven, but they can't be taken back. You know, it takes a leader that has some faith in not only you, but in mankind, to have faith to give that forgiveness. And I would say, in this instance, Mr. Saban had some faith. However, you know, let's take a different path now. I get inspired a lot by songs, by the lyrics in the songs, by the rhythms. I feed off that. I feel it. And everybody feeds off positive information and negative information differently. So what's your language? What feeds you? What feeds your soul? What helps you to get in the right mindset? You know, I love that song. Toby Mac always has a positive approach to tough situations. And in the song Forgiveness, he proclaims, "Nothing is sweeter than the day we find forgiveness. Forgiveness of ourselves, forgiveness of our past, forgiveness of others." And I believe that is true. It frees your heart and your soul. And when you realize that second chance has helped yourself and another person, there's a lot of joy in that. Because faith in ourselves and faith in humankind is something it's worth working to restore each and every day. And we all have that God force, that life force inside of us, trying to encourage us to have forgiveness and to show not only yourselves the way, but others. It's telling us everything's going to be okay. It's okay to take on a challenge. It's okay to be bold. It's okay to give yourself that second chance. So pay attention. Have faith in yourself. And when you feel the words, or you feel you need to say something, speak up. Speak out loud. Don't be afraid. Don't stand behind the bush. Stand in front of it. Because we all get signs every single day. It's just a matter of, are we paying attention? Are we strong enough to share what we're given? And knowing each day is a gift, share that gift that you've just been given. Be open to that inspiration each and every day. Because it's not easy. There's a lot of tragedy out there. It's easier to be pessimistic than it is to be positive many times. But you give that second chance, it'll get you going in the right direction. So if somebody's caused you harm and you want them to pay the price, just remember, you can give them a second chance. You don't necessarily have to forgive right away, but that may come in time. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetfulness. Forgiveness means you're able to move past it. You're able to be an adult about it. And you're able to move forward in excellence as a messenger of love. Because what's life about? It's about love. I myself fall victim to pessimism. But the thing about pessimism is the more you deny it, the more you don't acknowledge it, the easier it is to get out of it. We've got a lot of freedom because we are part of this wonderful United States. And we forget that. There's a lot of people that talk about what's wrong here, but there's a lot that's right. There's more that's right here that we just don't understand because we haven't had to be outside of our borders to observe that. You know, in this great country, we have some of the best minds of creativity for arts, for technology, for giving and sharing love. If you really look at our country, I mean, we've got some of the best nonprofits in the world here. And many of them are run a lot on volunteerism. Think about it. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is the foundation of many of our nonprofits. You've got AA. You have Gamblers Anonymous. You have Planned Parenthood. You have so many options out there. The Boys and Girls Club. You have the Cradle. You have so many volunteer organizations out there, nonprofits, that are trying to make a difference and be there where there isn't a government agency that can really step up. And what they're providing is invaluable. It's from people who care, like you and me, volunteering, wanting to make a difference in somebody's life who needs forgiveness, who needs to know that there's someone out there who cares outside of the people they know. Many of us also rely on prayer. And we pray for very specific results. Why? Probably because we were taught that way when we were young. Things are a little bit different once you open yourself up to spiritualism. You continue to pray, but you begin to understand that the world is a little bit more. You know, we use the phrase, let go and let God. We let go of control, or we try to let go of control. And, you know, one of the things we accept a little bit more than others is that, you know, our soul actually is independent and it has chosen an opportunity to come down to earth and have a life experience. A life experience that us as humans in this carbon body, we don't know what that experience or contract was. But there are so many good people out there who have tragedies that happen to them. And if all we do is pray and think that we're going to impact an outcome, it's really hard to accept that these good people have tragedies and challenges that they do. But if we understand that we have our soul who came down for an experience and we just don't know what that is, and that soul has free will, you begin to understand that even though the tragedy may have happened to somebody and our hearts go out and we want to weep for them and we want to help them, it was something beyond our control. It was something that soul wanted to experience, no matter the horrific or tragedy that it was. So we try to do our prayers. We try to back it up, our prayers up, with action to help people. Why? Because we're compassionate human beings. And our soul, with its free will, is going to continue to do what it needs to do. You know, it's not selfish to love yourself. It is unselfish, because once you love yourself, you can find a way to love others even more. And if you really think about, you know, trying to love everyone else and help everyone else, it's a form of codependency. We're training ourselves to that. We're getting that self-love from doing things external. And we use that sometimes as a crutch to fill in when we don't love ourselves enough. Because it's easy. And so when you get to that self-love and you can get beyond it, you realize, I love myself and now I love the other people. And you're helping for a different reason and you're connecting on a different level. And it takes that forgiveness of yourself to get there. And it takes the willingness to forgive other people. It takes the willingness to give second chances. Second chances are critical. You know, one of the most important second chances in my life, I've shared it once before, but I'll share it again. My wife, Debbie, and we were supposed to go on, we're at ISU, Illinois State University in Bloomington. We were going to go to see the East Peoria Lighted Parade. It's a parade they have at night. About 100,000 people will ascend upon that small town and enjoy the parade. And I talked about it, and her being from Chicago, she'd always heard about it, but she hadn't had a chance to go. So we made a commitment to go right after work. We both worked in food service. And so usually we're done at 7 and we're ready to go. And so we agreed to meet someplace at 7:15. That night she was unlucky. She had to work even later. You know, this is the early 90s. We didn't have cell phones. So if you were late from work and you were waiting for somebody, you either waited and waited and waited and they didn't show up, or you waited and they finally showed up. Well, I wasn't the driver that night, sad to say. We were going to wait on her, but my ride to go to this event was not in my control. And even though my heart and my gut said to wait, I made a bad choice. I chose to go with my ride, and I didn't wait for my wife, friend at the time. I didn't wait for her. And so, second chance, what happened, right? If you were her, wouldn't you have been really upset? Wouldn't you have wondered what happened? This is also the last day before spring break, or winter break, so we didn't have a chance to connect with each other. I had no way to reach her. Now the weird thing was, she was upset. She had to get over a few things. She probably was not going to really talk to me much anymore. And second chances. By the grace of God, I don't know why, but somehow I remembered her number. I'd never called it before, but I remembered it. And so I'm down in Bloomington, and I'm calling up to Chicago, and I asked to talk to her, and she picked up the phone. And, you know, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to expect. I was like, hey, Deb, this is Joe. Well, lucky for me, she had another friend named Joe because she thought I was the other Joe. And she really liked this other guy. She thought he was a nice guy, right? So lucky for me, we talked for at least a half an hour, and then she figured out it wasn't that Joe, and I don't know what was in her mind, but that other Joe gave me a second chance, and that other Joe gave me a chance to joke on the phone and to become human and to get forward some type of an apology. And so, you know, that was December. And in that February, we took our first official date in February. So we've been dating now for just over 34 years. We've been married 31 years coming on April. And I will forever be thankful for second chances. But there's one more reason that is so important. You see, if it wasn't for Debbie, I would have never got on a spiritual path. I would have never met spiritual teachers that I have in common with Dave and Lydia and many of you. So if I wouldn't have known that, I knew when I was younger I was going to go to Chicago, I was going to go to St. Louis. I probably would have gone to St. Louis. But that second chance changed my life. It brought me not only to her, but it gave me the path of spirituality to be here today and to be part of this church. So I'm very, lucky and very glad that she gave me a second chance. Thank you, Joe, who I don't know. You know, I know other people who have had relationships that didn't work out, and then for whatever reason at their 25th high school reunion, they connect with somebody only to find out that they only missed out on 25 years, but they didn't miss out on things. They got their second chance with a person that they were really maybe meant to be with. And second chances happen all the time, and I see happy marriages that happen from situations like that. So you never know what that second chance is going to be. You really don't. And again, I've said second chances doesn't mean you have to forgive somebody instantly. It means you're going to make the effort so that that possibility can happen. Because sometimes you just have to do it if you feel it in your heart, if you feel it in your gut, or if you just know it. And just because somebody says you shouldn't give somebody a second chance, that doesn't mean they're right. You know you. You do you. You give that second chance to yourself, to your friend, to your lover, to your kids' friends, whatever the case might be. If it's not life or death, giving that second chance is not going to harm you. It's going to be a learning opportunity for you and for them. It gives you a chance to be the light we were born to be, so that we can be the light for the future. So in closing, I'm going to ask you, be the light, give that second chance, have faith, give faith, and we will restore, one person at a time, faith in mankind and faith in one another. Thank you.